Hello and good afternoon again. My name is Gregson. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Shifting Lanes. Today I am still at IMPA's Spring Break event where we have a ton of cars to drive around. I'm currently in the Jaguar XF Sportbrake S all-wheel drive, and I'm going to take this thing for a spin and give you my thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly of this car, and to see if this is the ultimate dad wagon on sale today. So let's hit it. As I pull away, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and hit all notifications. That way you will be notified whenever we make a video on our channel for one of these events, a review, or doing any of our project cars. So thank you so much for watching in advance. What I'm in today is the Jaguar XF Sportbrake S all-wheel drive. That is the only trim available in the US and I believe globally right now for the XF wagon, this is what this is. Let's talk about the specs of this car first and foremost before we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. As I noted, I'm driving the XF Sportbrake S all-wheel drive. It is the only trim available. It has 380 horsepower with 382 foot-pounds of torque. It's a 3.0 liter, or 3.0 liter, or 3 liter, because I can talk, a 3 liter supercharged 8-speed automatic. It is a great engine. I'm a huge fan. It has front coil-over suspension and rear air suspension, an interesting setup. It is there is also brake bias torque vectoring. The base price is around 70 grand, and you can get this thing up in options pretty fast, but I'll go over that a little later. And this one as optioned is $84,000. You're looking at 18 city and 25 highway. The 0 to 60 time in this car is around 5.3 seconds. The XF rear wheel drive is about 5.1, and the XF all-wheel drive sedan is 5.0. So you're really not losing a ton of performance in the acceleration factor. So with that said, and now that you have kind of a basis of knowledge of what this car is, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Part of the good, as I said, this is built on the XF platform. It's a really good platform. It rides smoothly. It feels good. It hugs the road. It feels very planted. The driving dynamics are excellent, and the visibility is quite good. The car just rides and drives beautifully. It's a Jaguar. It's a sporty car. It feels really good as you chuck it into the turns. There is ample grip, and it just feels great when you hustle it around corners like that. The steering is really nicely weighted. It's heavy, but it's approachable. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be too much of a wagon, too much of a grand tourer, too much of just, you know, this really kind of wussy wagon. There's definitely some cojones to this thing, but it also does not feel like a sports car. It has the XF heart at its core. So you're going to get a really nice planted platform that's well thought out. It's been in production for a little while, and it just is a really nice place to be from a driver's perspective. The looks of this car are really good. I think it's really one of the best looking wagons made today, if not ever. Honestly, this thing is really up there. I know I've said that a lot about the V70R that we own, but this thing is super beautiful. So like I said, this thing is quick. It has a 5.3 0 to 60 time. So we're on a 40 mile per hour road. We're cruising at 15, and let's drop the hammer. Oh yeah. And that's 60. So without going too fast on that road, that is really quick. For a large wagon that I'm sure pushes 4,000 pounds, this thing's fast. You are not going to, you're gonna run out of talent before you can run out of car with this thing for sure. This thing will get you out of any situation. The engine is great. 380 horsepower is more than enough to get this thing cooking, and it feels very quick. It feels very very ready and at the ready at all times. In S mode, in drive, it's a little bit more subdued. Throttle response is still the same, actually. So if you put your foot down, you get that immediate kind of throttle response as the same you do as in S. It's a little bit sharper in S, but it's not going to be very, very different that you would notice like right off the bat, where there's a noticeable lag in D versus S. So either drive mode is excellent, and the power is just right there at the ready to go. Power is really good. Love that in this car. Another good aspect of this car is that it's a wagon. Yes, thank you Jaguar so much for giving us a wagon. America needs more wagons. Americans probably aren't gonna buy this the way they're gonna buy the F-Pace, but I'm super, super stoked that Jaguar is keeping the wagon enthusiast dream somewhat alive. A lot like Volvo, a lot like BMW, you know, these luxury car makers are giving us wagons in a lot of these cars and not little hatchbacks, which is cool. Huge fan of that. I'm a big wagon enthusiast and aficionado, I guess now, but the trunk in this thing is massive. You can fit many things in the boot of this car. So you're going to get a great platform with ample space for hauling the family, doing things that you normally couldn't do with a typical sedan. You know, if you're, you know, chucking boxes in the back of this thing or making Home Depot runs, you're gonna have a much better time making those runs in this car than you would the sedan. In the trunk, you have an easy pull lever, which is really nice. The seats can fold right down, and that gives you a nice big flat floor, increasing the cargo space, which is another huge advantage of having a wagon. And the last good thing I want to note is that I think Jaguar may be on the same kind of pace as Volvo does. I think Jaguar and Volvo have the two best design languages of any car maker in production right now. I think that what they're doing with their interiors and their exteriors, design language style-wise, is really, really good. I'm a huge fan of what this car looks like inside and out. I think the outside is handsomely designed, just like the XF sedan that it's based on. I think that the inside is a beautiful and nice place to be. You get this really nice kind of cresting, sloping, or not sloping, but this really nice kind of enveloping feel in this cabin with this linear all the way around kind of, you know, cocoon-like line that goes from the doors through the dash all the way around. And I think that that is just great. I love that sort of design language, and it makes you feel kind of safe but also engaged with the car at the same time, which is not a small feat to do. So good on Jaguar for doing that. I am a fan of this car. If I had the money, I would totally buy it, but this is a consumer advice sort of thing. So let's talk about some of the bad of this car. The bad is that, I mean, it's a Jaguar, and if you're buying a Jaguar, you know, you have the money for it, but it is expensive. $70,000 for a car is a lot of money. And on that same note, you can get up there in price real fast. The optional extras in this thing are $14,000, and that, which I have the trusty sheet right here to basically talk about, and I won't do it while I'm driving, I'll do this off camera. The options include the paint, an assistance package, a technology package, a comfort package, and interior upgrade package, and that's it. And all of those things ladder up to $14,000. So I think that it has to do with the two-tone leather. I think it has to do with a couple of other, you know, technological advancements here with Jaguar. So yeah, the options are going to get up there. You can probably, and I need to kind of go home and do a little bit more research on this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can probably option one of these things out to, I'm going to probably guess, $90,000 to $95,000. So that is a ton of money for a wagon, especially when you are in America like I am. I'm in the US, and you may not want a wagon. You may want an SUV, and you know, $70,000 to $90,000 is going to get you some really, really nice SUVs. You're talking, in the same JLR family, you're talking Range Rovers. So do you want that? You can also get base model Lincoln Navigators, which are world-beating SUVs at this time. So you know, the F-Pace from Jaguar too. That is something that is into consideration. And I asked one of the Jaguar reps, shout out Maria, this car actually pulling some market share from the F-Pace, and she said that no, they don't believe it's going to do that because the F-Pace is a bit of a different market, and you know, the market for this is kind of a niche market, so you're not going to get the same type of clientele buying this as you would an F-Pace, and I do agree with that. But I think that is maybe another bad note, that some of the enthusiasts out there, maybe it's a very, very small number, but this car might take away a little bit from the F-Pace, which is supposed to take Jaguar to the next level. I personally would buy this over the F-Pace, and if this didn't come out and I had the money, I would have bought an F-Pace. So something to think about for the enthusiasts out there that are very Jag focused and want to buy a Jaguar. Yeah, you have a choice to make now between the F-Pace, higher ride height, maybe a little bit more utility with an SUV, versus this. You know, it's a tough choice. Personally, I would choose this over the F-Pace, so something to think about if you are in that market. Another bad thing about this car is right now there's no plans for an XFR sedan or a Sportbrake R. I know that there was an XE one-off that basically trounced the Nürburgring record, but I would really love to see them make a real true enthusiast's wagon. I think that would be really cool, and if they could do an XF Sportbrake R, I mean, I would basically save up and buy that in a year, because I love the F-Type R. I think it's one of the best cars Jaguar's ever made. I think it's one of the most beautiful cars ever made, and to have that kind of utility with that kind of power, sold. I would buy it immediately if I had the money. They don't have it in the plans, so that is a bummer for enthusiasts of fast Jaguars and fast wagons. All right, so let's talk about the last bad thing about this car. It's a wagon, but it doesn't have a huge back seat, which is a little weird. My Volvo V70R is that way, but that was designed way back in 2004 and, well, 2005 now, but that has a small back seat, and that is a little strange. It's even weirder in here because this is a car that's brand new. There is space back there. I mean, I'm only 5'6". I fit back there fine, but I mean, it's not as big as I thought it would be, I guess is a better way to describe it. For a wagon with a trunk as big as this, I think they could have just sacrificed another inch of trunk space for an inch of back seat room. I think it's the same kind of thing that's in the XF sedan, so it doesn't surprise me, but it's a little disappointing, so I guess that's a bad thing about this car, and that's really the last thing I can say that's bad about it. Let's get to the ugly. The ugly is, I'll go back to the price, and I think that should be mentioned in the ugly too, because the options get expensive fast. You can probably push this thing up towards, you know, 90 grand, and it's a high-end luxury car at the end of the day, and the depreciation on this thing is going to be absurd. So in 2 years, your $90,000 Jag XF Sportbrake S all-wheel drive will probably be between $40,000 and $50,000, and that's a tough pill to swallow, especially when you're talking about the kind of money and entry point, as far as money is concerned, that this car brings with it. So it's a little crummy. Again, people in this kind of tax bracket don't really concern themselves a lot with depreciation. People are turning over Mercedes S-Classes every 3 years, and not batting an eye. So it's probably a similar buyer, more enthusiast base in that kind of realm, but it is something to consider, and that is an ugly thing, not just for this car. It is part of for this car, but also in luxury cars in general. Buying them new it's a tough pill to swallow over time. A couple of years down the road, you're going to lose tens of thousands of dollars. Another ugly about this is it is expensive to fix. It's a British car. It's a luxury car. It's going to be expensive. There's just no two ways about it. You really can't get around that. If it's a Jag, a Mercedes, a Range Rover, whatever, it's going to be expensive. You take it to a dealer, you're looking at $200, $300 oil changes. So that's just part of the territory. That's an ugly that comes with any luxury car. Again, it's not necessarily for the XF, but when you buy an XF, that's something you have to deal with. So yeah, high-end Jaguars, they're going to be expensive to fix. I own a British car now. I know. Oh man, for a heavy wagon, this thing just handles so nice. nicely. Wow, the chassis dynamics are incredible. You just chuck this thing at a turn and it does exactly what you want. Oh man, that is so nice and so refreshing. And it feels planted. It feels like it wants to keep going. And in a wagon. Oh, that's so great. Wow, keep going. Yes. Oh, love that. Great big sweeper. Beautiful. Yeah, sold. This thing has excellent handling. And I guess the last ugly as I'm pulling back into the parking lot is this doesn't have as much utility as an SUV will. It has a big trunk. It has the wagon nature to it, sure. But when you buy an SUV, you do get more cargo space with the taller ceiling, higher ride height, more utility coming out of the trunk, more than likely a larger wheelbase. So you're going to have more rear room, more rear seat capacity along with rear trunk capacity. So something to think about. That is an ugly of this car. So that's really it. I can't think of anything else in this quick drive that this car really does poorly. It feels great. It's gonna get the job done. If you're a wagon enthusiast, you're gonna have a good time. And to top it all off, Jaguar has brought a wagon to the United States. That's super rare, and it's fast. So this car, if you buy it, you're gonna have a good time. And that's really it. Hopefully we can get a loaner of this in the near future so I can put it through its paces a little bit more with a week-long loan and see if my initial reaction in this good, bad, ugly video holds up over time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and as always, please consider subscribing. That would help us out, and we can bring you more videos like this. And I will catch you for the next review or in one of our project cars. See ya.